So basically, this video is about human evolution. And what I want to get across here is that I want people to realize that you cannot deny that evolution is true, okay? Because what I plan on doing here is just explaining how evolution kind of works in terms of human evolution. And this is what and people like to use, humans aren't, they like to say that humans aren't animals, and well, we're some special creature created by God. If she or it actually exists or not, I don't know. But what I want to get across here is to prove that evolution is a great scientific theory, and I want people to stop denying that it is true. Okay, because we know any scientific person will examine the evidence and realize that you cannot deny this, especially people who accept microevolution but deny macroevolution. This video right here should get you to realize that your belief does not make sense. Before I actually begin with the human evolution part, I would like to just get across how we classify animals. First, we have a kingdom, then we have phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And I would just like to get across this because people don't really understand how it works, especially the people who like the creationists like Ken Ham and uh, what's his name, Ray Comfort, who like to use the word kind, even though I don't know what a kind even is. And in a video by King Crocoduck, who's probably one of my favorite YouTubers out there because he makes the just brilliant videos, he even showed that even Ray Comfort doesn't actually have an actual definition of kind. And what Ray Comfort did was he defined kind using like a dictionary or something like that. And King Crocodile was able to show that using the definition that Comfort gave, you could classify a kind as a black person or a white person or humans. Like the example of a kind could be a human, or an example of a human can be life in general. So he does not make it clear, and that's why I don't get why people actually try to use that as evidence, as their belief. Because what is a kind? And I think they like to use it in terms of family and order. Um, and it's just not see, especially when it involves a flood story, is they know that isn't possible to fit all these animals on that small little boat, that wooden boat. So instead of saying it was one of every species, it was just two representatives of every species, something like that, or seven pairs, etc. They will shift the goalposts from being species or genus to family or order, and that reduces the number required to just a couple. And then along with that, they will finally recognize that evolution is possible, but they only accept the micro. Yet then, if I were to explain this to them, how you have order here, okay? You accept that a kind is an order or a family, yet now you have genus and species. But isn't microevolution doesn't microevolution require a change in species, or like I like to say, it's like microevolution is like when one species evolves to another species. So now, since you classify a kind as an order or family, wouldn't that also include macroevolution now? Because you have under kind, which is now order or family, you have multiple genuses and species. So technically, if you want to get technical here, you kind of are accepting microevolution too. But then what they'll do in response is claim that a microevolution is a change in kind. So now you have to. They want to see a crocodile evolve into a duck, which is basically an idiotic thing. Like, how do you believe that's what evolution describes? That's not what it describes at all. It describes a gradual change over time involving mutations, natural selection, and other causes of evolution. So I would like to get that across first of all before I go any further. And another thing is this is basically here. This is a diagram of the evolution of basically primates. It started off as a single animal. It was an ancient primate that was they like to say a monkey turned into a man, but basically It's kind of like it's a ancient monkey-like animal that we will that if we saw it now we would think of a monkey because it was kind of it looked like a monkey kind of, but it wasn't a modern monkey. So I'll have to get that across. And so, and also, what they like to think is that a chimpanzee evolved into a human, but no. As you can see by this picture I found on the internet, you have every single between the origins of life and the chimpanzee and human division. Every single animal to ever exist before that that we evolved from is a common ancestor between us and chimpanzees. The last common ancestor between humans and chimpanzees existed about 6 million years ago, and that is using is that how we calculate that is you can actually do it in many ways, but a best example to get people to accept evolution is I think it's the Hardy-Weinberg equation, which is what we use as a basis for for testing I think it's brain test. I think it's what the word is that finding out who's the parent or something like that. It's basically the same process we can use for this to find out if we are related to the chimpanzees, and we use the same basic equation to do this. And that's what I want to get across here. If you accept that we can use genetics to find out if we are related, if I'm related to my sister or my mother or father, you have to accept that we can use the same process to determine whether humans are related to other animals. You can't deny the evidence. Sorry. So this is basically a generally accepted model for human evolution as we evolve from Australopithecus to our species today, which is Homo sapiens. And what I would like to get across first is that humans are not actually a species, we're actually a genus. So on this diagram, any animal here that has a genus Homo, such as Homo neanderthalensis or Homo erectus, are all human species. And that is something that most people don't realize. They don't realize that humans are actually a genus. We're not a species, we're actually a genus. And Homo sapiens happen to be the only living human species left. Actually, it might be a couple more, but I forget if I'm not sure or not. But we are the only species actually left. And this is people don't like to accept that. They like to say that humans are only, or if they accept that humans actually belong to the animal kingdom, they'll say that we're a species. And I would just like to get across first. This is why this is big evidence for macroevolution because people like to deny that macroevolution actually exists. But once you point out that humans are actually a genus, you cannot deny it because macroevolution is generally described as a change in species. So a species evolving into another species. So that's where macroevolution comes in here when you are able to just show that humans are not actually a species. So now you have no choice but to either deny evolution as a whole because you believe once you deny the evidence, or you will generally accept that humans are a genus. And I would like to just show here that this is actually not completely accurate because I actually looked up evidence and general information about our evolution, and I would like to show a more revised version that I kind of drew. It doesn't look very great. This is why I show this one first because it's a more it's a better diagram, and this is basically the guide here. But my picture does not look great at all because I kind of drew it by pencil and paper. So um, I want you to use this as a guide and then infer from this, update this picture here with what I show you next. So don't laugh, but this is my revised version of that drawing here. And the timing here is not the scale. And I was only planning to show our evolution in our genus, but I decided to put in the Kenyan to replace the other one as well because I like to be more scientifically sound. But anyway, what I'd like to show here is that humans and Neanderthals share a common ancestor, which is Homo heidelbergensis, and then which evolved from Homo ergaster. And this is basically a very basically set in stone model for human evolution from Homo ergaster to heidelbergensis, and then to Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. Before that, it gets pretty unclear because now we can't really use. See, for Neanderthals, we actually have DNA from them, so we can actually use that to help us, um, prove the relationship here. But as we go older back in the time here, we have to go by what we have in terms of fossil evidence, and we have to just infer from that. But according to the actual to my actual research, I used to believe that humans evolved from Homo habilis and then to Ergaster, blah 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 blah. But actually, what I learned here is that it's actually unclear if humans actually evolved from habilis or Rudo. I can't even see it in that drawing here, so I need to get another picture. Um, we're not sure if we evolved from Homo habilis or Homo rudolfensis, I guess if I could say it, or from another species. And what I actually believe personally is that it's another species that is related to both of these somehow, but just we don't know it yet. Well, we haven't found it yet. And what I like about this is that when you go back in time, it's more unclear, and that's what I love about science is that when it comes to evolution, um, Homo habilis is actually, or actually for Homo rudolfensis and Homo habilis is actually unclear whether or not Homo habilis is actually as of the genus Homo or from Australopithecus, and that's what I love about this. It's just because its classification is unclear. We're not sure if it's a human or an Australopithecus, and that is what I love about this. It shows that humans are related to Australopithecus here, because we can't. And people like to think that out of nowhere, some ancient generation gave birth to a human, and that's not true. There's no actually defining generation line. You can't just draw a line between two generations and show that this one is this animal and this one is this animal. And that's what I love about this model here, because we know that we evolved most likely from Australopithecus, but we're not sure when it actually began. Our animal, which is humans, we're not sure when it happened. That's why I love this model, because we can't actually show that Homo habilis is actually a human yet, or is it not Australopithecus still? And for Homo rudolfensis, it's actually unclear whether or not it's a human or it could be a separate genus as a whole. We're not sure of that. And I actually looked at the fossils of it, and it could be true that it's not even actually a human, but it kind of it really looks. It probably is a human, but it may not be. We're not really sure. We don't have the DNA evidence to show it. That's why I love science so much. Is that we are uncertain whether or not we're actually we're not sure whether or not Homo habilis is actually a human species. It proves that this is more of a transitional early human species or a later Australopithecus species, and that's why I love it so much. And I had to get it across. And in the model before, it was there was no common ancestor between showing what would evolve into Homo heidelbergensis, but I did a little bit of research, and it is generally accepted that Homo ergaster is what evolved into Homo heidelbergensis and into us. And that's why I like to put this revised model here, because it shows that, and then it also shows that ergaster broke off into heidelbergensis and then Homo erectus, and then Homo erectus evolved to Homo floresian. I don't even care, but that's why I wanted to show this revised model here. And now, before I go any further, I would like to show a couple of pictures that basically you cannot deny is, it proves that these are actually humans. This right here is a Homo neanderthalensis, and as you can see, it looks pretty human-like. It actually, they actually had even perhaps larger brains than us today, actually. The next one is Homo heidelbergensis, which, if you look at it, kind of looks like a caveman from that, I think it's the Geico commercials. And the last one is Homo habilis, which you can tell it looks like a primate. You know that it looks kind of like a monkey, but as you can see, the reconstructions show it has a much larger mouth. It protrudes out more, and it has a lot more hair. But as you can see, it looks somewhat human-like, but it also doesn't. And that's why I like to show these pictures here, because it's undeniable proof that evolution is true. And I just had to put it in there. So by the end of this video, I would like to show here, and this, I hope to show to you that humans are in fact animals and we have in fact evolved. And I hope this proves to you that evolution is not micro and macro, it's just evolution in general, because people like to accept one part, not the other part, but there's really no such thing as micro and macro. It's more of an illusion. Because let's say let's say we have an animal and we think it evolved from another animal and they're both still alive. Now, if you were to take the genes from both of these and compare it, the second one, now, and let's say the first one is hasn't changed much. So the second one should have multiple genes that are different from the first one and shows that it evolved from the first one. And if macroevolution is a change in species or larger, how can you deny that it's true when you can see that certain genes mutated and some genes may have been added? And as you can see, um, if macroevolution is a couple of small changes, basically what macroevolution is a bunch of microevolutions, and this basically that kind of proved it there. That's why I want to put my little spin on things is a bunch of smaller changes over time leads to one large change, aka a new species. And that's why I want to make the analogy, what if we had one species and a new species, and you can take both the DNA and show that the second one evolved from the first one. And people like to deny that macroevolution is true, yet they accept the micro. And but however, if you accept that microevolution occurs, and let's say, um, humans, we mutate in that we actually have lots of mutations. The evidence shows that humans have hundreds of additional mutations that our ancestors only a couple thousand years ago did not have. But anyway, all these mutations over time lead to a new species, and they like to deny that. But how can you deny that if a couple small changes over time is said to lead to a new species, yet you can basically prove that is true by having a new species, taking its genes and comparing it to the old species, or the older species, and showing that these changes have occurred within it. How can you deny that? I just don't get it. All because you have a holy book and it tells you what God supposedly did does not make it true. And I don't want to be mean about this, but I'm trying to say it as nice as possible, is that all because it says it does not make it true, okay? The flood did not happen, the Tower of Babel didn't happen, Adam and Eve didn't happen, the garden didn't happen, all these things did not happen. You have no evidence for them. And they get mad when people don't want to believe it and people try to get them to not believe it. It's not people taking away your religious freedom. It's people trying to show you what the evidence shows. And that's why, people who want to have creationism taught in science class or in public schools, I don't get you. It's not taking away your freedom of religion. It's first of all, read the Constitution, the Establishment Clause, first of all, okay? And it's science class. Your religious belief is not science. It's what you believe, but it's not what the science shows. And it's not science anyway because it doesn't make predictions. I can't use your model of the Bible to make any scientific predictions at all. Nor can I prove nor can I back it up the belief with any evidence. So it's not scientific, and why should it be in science class? We shouldn't have to teach what you believe in a public school that in a public school, and especially not in a science class. You need to stop thinking that this country is a Christian nation. It's really not. Even a lot of the founding fathers were actually deists or weren't traditional Christians, or some of them even hated Christianity. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, there's a couple examples. Ben Franklin's a deist. And those other two were just a couple examples of people who didn't really like Christianity, especially Thomas Jefferson. I think James Madison was too, but I kind of forget all these things. But anyway, it's not a Christian nation. These guys recognize that there are many religions in this world, and we need to learn to coexist in one nation. This is not a Christian nation. This is a nation with a lot of diverse religions and beliefs. So stop thinking that all our laws should follow what you believe in the Bible. Okay? Stop believing it. And how can you even believe that this is a Christian nation founded on Christian principles when the first freaking amendment has the Establishment Clause and freedom of religion? If this was a Christian nation and the founding fathers recognized that Christianity was true, wouldn't they have established Christianity as this country's religion? Or wouldn't they have established that Christianity is the true one instead of having freedom of religion, which I guess they could have had, but why the Establishment Clause? You don't They recognize to not have um one religion influencing the laws. So how do you even accept or believe that this is the Christian nation? I just don't get it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe and like this video, and I shall continue to make videos in the future. Thanks, guys. Have a nice day.